around the world. We hope all of you and your families are safe and sound during this worldwide pandemic of COVID-19. We get set for the second straight week from the Microsoft Theater here in Los Angeles. It is Fox PBC Fight Night on Fox FS1 and Fox Deportes as it comes your way at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time. Fox PBC Fight Night is headlined by WBA Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Erislandy, the American Dream Lara, taking on Greg Vendetti in a 12-round main event. On today's call, we're going to hear from fighters in the main event and the co-main event. Now, preceding Fox PBC Fight Night at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific time is a slate of FS1 PBC Fight Night matchups. As the man who has been quite busy when it comes to promoting these events, he's been so active for such a long time, continues to churn out outstanding, wonderful, fan-friendly matchups. The president of TGB Promotions, here is Mr. Tom Brown.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today to preview Saturday's WBA Super Welterweight Championship fight card. The 154-pound division is stacked with talent right now. There's some big super welterweight fights on the horizon for Lara, but first he's got to get past the tough Greg Vendetti. Vendetti is a legitimate guy and a guy that's going to try to test Lara, and he knows he's getting in the ring with one of the very best in the world. I'm also really looking forward to the opening fight Saturday night with Alfredo Angulo taking on former super middleweight champion Caleb Truax, an IBF 168-pound title eliminator. So right now I'm going to get things started and throw it back to Ray. Thank you, Ray.
Really appreciate it, Tom. Tom continues to be very busy when it comes to putting on events of this magnitude. But now let's meet the man involved in the co-main event of the evening. As Tom pointed out, I think this one is going to be an absolute barn burner. He comes to us fighting out of his native home state of Minnesota, became a world champion by going to England and upsetting James DeGale and capture the IBF title in what the media called one of 2017 the biggest upsets. But with the hard work and dedication he put in, no surprise to me, he's faced an impressive resume of top middleweights and super middleweights, including the likes of James DeGale, Peter Quillen, Anthony Durrell, and Daniel Jacobs. A fan-friendly style, works so tirelessly in the gym, and is a wonderful representation for the sport of boxing. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Caleb Golden Truax. Caleb?
Hey, thanks for the kind words, Ray. Great to be here and excited for the fight card on Saturday, just like everybody else is.
And now we will open it up to the media. If you have any questions for Caleb Golden Truax as he prepares for his eliminator matchup against Alfredo Angulo this upcoming Saturday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please press *1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's *1 on your telephone keypad. Now allow just a few moments for the queue to build. All right, our first question will come from Jeremy Harridge, fansided.com. Jeremy, your line is now open.
Hi, Caleb. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. I know that in last year you were having numerous issues with your Achilles. I was wondering, what's the status of your Achilles now? Is it fully healed? And how has that been during training?
Thanks for the question, Jeremy. Yeah, last year, the last year and a half was a tough year for me. I got that cut and the Achilles injury, and it's fully healed now. It took about eight or 9 months for it to feel back to normal. But I've been training on it. I fought in January. It felt fine, and it's fully healed now. So I'm ready to roll.
I know that your fight in January was closer than a lot of people expected against Vasiliy Lomachenko. Was there ring rust at that time? Did you feel like you needed that fight to kind of get back into the swing of things? What was your assessment of how you felt in the ring at that time?
Yeah, I had a little bit of ring rust, and it was great to knock it off. But at the same time, I don't know what the judges were thinking, because most people there thought it was like a 8-2 fight, and the judges had it closer than that. But I got the win and knocked out some ring rust. So just moving forward and ready to go out and put on a show against a higher level of competition, obviously, in Alfredo Angulo.
Last question. Obviously, Alfredo Angulo maximized his fight with Peter Quillen since you weren't able to participate in it. Looking at that fight, were you impressed with Alfredo's performance, and were you surprised by it at all?
Yeah, I was impressed for sure. I don't think surprise is the right word because he's a former champion, he's a veteran, he's a real good fighter. I favored Quillen to win like most everybody else, but obviously when you have that pedigree that Angulo has, it's not a surprise that he won. I thought he rightfully got the decision and put pressure on Quillen and backed him up pretty much the whole night outside of the first couple of rounds and did what he had to do to get the win.
Well, Caleb, thank you for your time and best of luck come Saturday.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, our next question will come from Carlos Toro of Fight Game Media. Carlos, your line is now open.
Hey, Caleb, thanks so much for taking time to talk to us. Obviously, you have been in a position to fight for the IBF in an IBF title eliminator, so to speak, for quite some time. But ever since that fight against Peter Quillen kind of went to a no decision, it's been kind of like a long waiting game for you to sort of get back to this point where you could fight in a title eliminator. Has that wait kind of been a little off-putting, or I should say a little hard for you?
It's been frustrating having to deal with first the cut and then the Achilles injury. It's basically the first major injury I've had in my 13-year career, so that was a little bit frustrating. But I'm fortunate to be in the spot that I am now, and the IBF kept me rated at I believe number 3. So that's where we're at today in this eliminator, and I just need to make the most of it and get back in a title fight.
All right, so when you're looking at this fight, obviously both of you guys are in your 30s, and you got a champion in Caleb Plant who's obviously going strong in his career right now. Do you look at this fight and kind of think to yourself that you kind of have to treat this more or less as your last shot at potentially gunning for that super middleweight title?
Yeah, I've been treating probably the last 3 or 4 fights the same way, just because when you get as old as Angulo and I are, we don't really have time to start over and build again and work our way back up. So it's when you're 36 years old, or I believe he's 38, you have to approach every fight like it's a must-win, like last chance opportunity, I think.
Thanks, Caleb, and best of luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Carlos.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you have any questions, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 on your telephone keypad for questions.
Caleb, I have a question for you, and in regards to your style, the one thing that I can classify with you is you love to come forward, you like to throw punches in bunches. Where do you get your fan-friendly style from? Because I'm sure your coaches would rather have you box and make things easier, but I feel like you just have that something inside of you that you want to come forward and put on an exciting show for the fans.
You know what? I actually I can point to an exact fight where it changed, where I used to be more of a counter puncher and kind of sit back and try to box. But when I fought Jermaine Taylor, it was like my first big fight, first fight against a guy that was on the level of a former world champion and on the top level of the sport. And I sat back too long and tried to counter. And after that fight, we kind of reinvented my style, knowing that I couldn't sit back and wait for guys that were that quick and that experienced and that good. You have to be first, and I kind of consider myself like an aggressive counter puncher, where I'll come forward and throw punches and get the guy moving backwards or get him frustrated, and then sit back and wait for counter opportunities when he tries to make something happen. So that fight is what really kind of switched my style.
Well, also, too, Caleb, you've been around and fighting for over a decade. You've seen boxing evolve. When being a part of Premier Boxing Champions and watching the movement of having boxing back on network television, can you tell us what you've seen when it comes to the growth of the sport, thanks largely in part to what PBC has been able to do?
Yeah, I love it, man. Having boxing on network television is huge for the fighters, huge for the fans, and huge for the sport in general, just because it opens up avenues of viewership that a lot of people don't have. Like not everybody has HBO or Showtime or wants to download an app for streaming purposes. So when I can go tell somebody that, hey, I got a fight coming up, and is it on pay-per-view? Nope, it's on Fox 9. Really? Cool. I'll tune in for sure. It makes it easier for people to access the fights, and hopefully lots of people tune in to my fight on Saturday, and we start getting the viewership numbers up all across boxing.
You fought literally the top tier at 168 and 160. Do you like the fact that you are going to be fighting someone in Alfredo Angulo that you're probably not going to have to, chase around the ring or have to cut off the ring because, he likes to come forward and throw punches and bunches. You like to do the same as well, a calculated aggression, but does that kind of excite you for Saturday night?
Yeah, I think my style matches up really well with him. I like it when I don't have to go searching for somebody, and I think it will make for a good fight for the fans as well. So I'm excited to fight a guy that is going to want to come forward, because I haven't fought anybody like that for a while.
You and I spoke about this on the PBC Instagram page yesterday, but for the media that hasn't been able to check that out, I want to know your thoughts on having that world title opportunity literally within a grasp of you, and the champion being Caleb Plant. In terms of your mindset preparing for Angulo, and not necessarily, putting all your attention away from Angulo, but looking ahead towards Caleb Plant as well. What has that balancing act been like for you?
Well, I've made it a point throughout my career, and especially since I won my title against James DeGale, where I thought he overlooked me. I've made it a point not to do that and look forward. I always focus on the person that's right in front of me. Obviously, whoever wins this fight gets that opportunity in the future. So you kind of have to acknowledge that, but at the same time, none of that happens unless I beat Angulo. So I try my best not to look past what I have in front of me on Saturday night.
Well, Caleb, we greatly appreciate your time, and you are within the PBC bubble right now, getting you ready for your matchup against Alfredo Angulo, co-main event. It is a super middleweight eliminator matchup this Saturday night, 8 Eastern, 7 o'clock local time for Caleb Truax's fans in Minnesota, 5 Pacific time. Do you have any final comments, Caleb, as you prepare for your co-main event showdown?
Just thanks for all the support from all my people back in Minnesota, and thank everybody for all the questions, and thank TGB, PBC, Al Heyman for the opportunity, my team, Tony G, Seconds Out Promotions, my trainers and manager, and I'm just ready to roll, man. I'm excited to get back into a big fight and get on TV and do my thing.
Caleb, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Ray.
Caleb Truax joining us, and now we will turn our attention to the main event of the evening in regards to the challenger. He represents his hometown of Stoneham, Massachusetts. He's won back-to-back victories since a defeat at the hands of Michel Zoro back in 2018 in France. Now, prior to the fight with Zoro, he won 16 straight, including a heck of a barn burner back in 2018 against Yoshihiro Kabagai. His record, 22 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw, a dozen wins coming by way of knockout. The one thing I will tell you about this man He always comes prepared, always in tip-top shape, and is scared of nobody. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the challenger on a Saturday night from Massachusetts. Here is Greg Vendetti. Greg.
Hey, what's happening, guys? Thanks for having me.
Greg, if you have any opening comments as you get set to battle Erislandy Lara in the main event of PBC Fight Night.
I think we've done all we can to prepare for this fight. Every box is checked. I'm definitely in position to do my best, and I'm really excited for it and excited for the opportunity. And I think we got it, man. Real confident. I'm excited.
And now we will turn it over to the operator as the media. If you have any questions for Greg Vendetti, who prepares to square off against Erislandy Lara this Saturday night here in Los Angeles. Operator?
Ladies and gentlemen, please press star 1 if you have any questions. Again, that's star 1 for questions. And our first question will come from Jeremy Harridge of Fansided.com. Jeremy, your line is now open.
Hi, Greg. Thank you for taking the time to talk. Obviously, the pandemic provides a lot of time to sit and wait. What were your first thoughts when you got the call that hey, do you want this Erislandy Lara fight? Take me to that moment. What was running through your head?
Yeah, it was just words are hard to describe. It's something that my trainer was kind of predicting for a while now, almost close to 3 years. That he would see Lara and think, this guy, he doesn't like backing up. You got a good style for him, and he don't like pressure and blah blah blah. Like I see you fighting this guy, and then I got the call, and I don't know. I took it as a real sign. So yeah, I was really excited, really motivated to show everyone what I can do and do my best. So yeah.
When going up against a guy like Lara, obviously he's kind of hit legendary status now. Is there any intimidation there? Is there any sense of awe, or is it kind of what's your vision when you go into this fight? What's your attitude like?
Well, I look at it like he's just, he's a human just like me, man. He's made of skin and bones and blood and meat and all that. And then, he has his doubts about himself too, his age and his ability and, what if this kid gets to me and blah, blah, blah. Like all those things are going through his head too. So as far as intimidation goes, I'm not really. What's the worst that could happen? I die. Like it is what it is. But I'm more excited just to be able to get in there and test myself against one of the best fighters of our generation, or even the last decade, really. So.
Considering that this is a title fight and so many, obviously you've worked very hard to get this point, is there any pressure that, hey, this could be my one shot, I need to make the most of it, or do you tend not to look at it that way?
No, I don't really look at it that way. I just look at it like prepare the best I can and perform the best I can in the fight. And that's all I can do. That's it. I can't do anything else. May it be the last opportunity I have for a fight for a title? Yeah, maybe. But thinking of that's not going to help anything. So just prepare my best, focus, do my best in the fight. You do that, I got a good shot of winning.
Last question here for me. After this fight, after it's all over, what do you think people are going to say about you? What do you want to show them in this fight?
I'm in it to win it, man. That's something I feel like I've built a reputation for myself that people, spectators see that there's no giving up in me, and that I'll do anything I can to win the fight. And if I lose, I want to lose falling on my face, going down swinging. You know what I mean? So that's really all I'm looking to get people to think is, there's no giving up in me, man.
Greg, thank you so much, and best of luck come Saturday.
Thank you, sir.
All right, our next question will come from Marquis John. Marquis, your line is now open.
Thanks for taking the call, everybody. Greg, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Pretty good, man. Two things, actually. You mentioned in the opening statements with Ray that you preparing for this fight with Lara, you checked all the boxes. the last fight Lara had was 2 rounds of Ramon Alvarez. Is there any preparation you took from that fight to you prepare this one or anything in particular?
No, not much. I mean, I'm not going to speak ill of anybody, but it seemed like Alvarez was in there just to get a paycheck. He didn't seem very motivated to win that fight, or you could see that even him not making weight. So you could see that he kind of stood there. He stood at the end of Lara's range, and Lara could just kind of put punches on him and catch him. So if anything I take from that is that's what I shouldn't do. But even him himself, like even when he came forward, he still got to Lara and put a little burst on him at moments. So that kind of showed me that even a unmotivated, maybe not even in shape fighter can still get to Lara. So that kind of, I don't know, maybe gave me a boost of confidence.
Understood. And I remember speaking to you a while back previously about this. Your goal was to win this fight against Lara to eventually avenge your loss against Michael Soro. Can you walk me through that again?
Yeah, that's something that could possibly be in the cards. Obviously I don't want nothing set in stone, but if that opportunity arose for him to come over here to the States and preferably fight him at the Boston Garden, that'd be like, man, I mean, what's sweeter than that type of revenge in front of your home crowd? Mm-hmm. So that's definitely something that we could potentially get into. But of course, it's, things change and different opportunities pop up. So you kind of got to just go with what's the best decision at the time.
Absolutely. One last question from me, just in general, Greg. Any particular feeling of the atmosphere that's going to be at the Microsoft Theater this Saturday night? Because there's no fans. It's just the studio, pretty much just you and just Lara in the ring. Any preparation for it?
Yeah, it's going to be a little strange. I feel like it's. I'm not worried about it. If anything, I feel like it's going to help. I mean, it's going to allow me to focus better. And like I've said in the past, the crowd does, even though it doesn't matter how much experience you have, I mean, the crowd does have an effect on your performance. It can make you more aggressive than you want to be or can influence the judges in many ways. So I feel not having a crowd there is probably more in my advantage than disadvantage. But it is going to have a weird, muffled feeling, just being a couple people in the room. So, but it is what it is. Wild times, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time, Greg.
Of course, man. I appreciate it.
And our next question will come from Michael Rosenthal of Boxing Junkie. Michael, your line is now open.
Hi, thanks. You kind of just alluded to this a little bit. Do you think that maybe Lara's slipped a little bit? Maybe he's really in decline to some degree?
Now, I've approached this fight as if I'm getting the best version of Lara that has ever existed. So I definitely didn't. I'm not taking him lightly by no means at all. I mean, he's a great fighter, and he's definitely, like I've said, he's probably one of the best in the last 10 years. But if you kind of see his performance as of late, it's not the same Lara you've seen early on when he fought Angulo and Canelo in those earlier fights when he was in his early 30s. That lateral movement is kind of lacking. The agility is not there as much. And it almost seems like he's doing just enough to win these fights. He's not really going the extra mile or the extra push to really, dominate or anything. He's kind of almost doing just enough. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's an older guy. He's a little long in the tooth. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm approaching it as if he's the best he's ever been. So I'm ready for him either way.
Great. I hadn't seen the Soro fight until a couple of days ago. I watched it on tape, and that was a pretty bad knockout. I'm just curious, how do you bounce back from that? Like, I guess emotionally more than physically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as emotionally, I just look at it like, yeah, I mean, that's the risk you take. Fighting a world-class elite fighters. I knew that going into the fight. It wasn't that was totally calculated into making the decision. But I look at it like this: like if I'm in this to win this, I want to do the best I can and fight the best guys I can. I don't want to just say that I want to be the best. Like I want to really be the best I can. So yeah, it is what it is, man. It's sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, and in that case, I was the nail. What can you do?
Awesome. Good answer. Thanks very much. Good luck.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Our next question will come from Adriana Jimenez. Adriana, your line is now open.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. Just wanted to see if you can put into words. Obviously, it's been a year now since you were in the ring. We've had the pandemic. We've had fighters get their training camp affected because of COVID. Was there any change, anything drastically different in your training camp because of all this pandemic?
Yeah, things have changed slightly, but to tell you the truth, it hasn't impacted me in a very big negative way. With everything closing down and shutting down, I mean, I've had, layoffs and not as much work available, but I mean, I've had a lot of money saved, and so it kind of gave me more time to even focus on training even more. And with all the social distancing, it kind of gave me a good excuse to, not have to go out and see anybody, so I could even focus more on training. And, it was a little difficult at times to get sparring, but a lot of the guys that we ended up getting were also having fights around the same time I'm having mine. So they were basically all in the same boat as me as far as getting tested and, being cleared. So to tell you the truth, it's actually kind of worked out. I've had a lot more time and a lot more energy to train and put into this camp. So yeah, it's been a positive, to tell you the truth.
Okay, well, it's good to hear that. Now, you mentioned you mentioned layoffs. Do you, besides boxing, do you have a day-to-day job that you do that as well?
Yeah, I teach a couple little boxing classes, some fitness classes at a couple local gyms, and I'm also a licensed plumber, so I do like my own jobs and side jobs and things like that. But yeah, that's really it. Just kind of putt around with that stuff.
Okay, yeah, I had seen. I thought the plumbing you had stopped, but okay, so you're still doing the plumbing. Also, can you put into words what fans can expect from you? Those, if they're not too familiar from you, what do you expect to see from you? What do you have to do to come out victorious on Saturday?
I mean, pressure's the name of the game. I got to be, I got to be aggressive. I got to be active. I got to put pressure on them methodically, of course. I can't run in and be a sucker and get blasted. But yeah, I'm gonna try to push the pace as best I can, as smart as I can. So it's I'm predicting an exciting fight, at least on my end.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Good luck, Greg.
Thank you.
All right. Our final question will come from Carlos Toro of Fight Game Media. Carlos, your line is now open.
Hey, Greg. Thanks for taking time to talk to us. Most of the questions I kind of wanted to ask have already been asked already, but I do wanted to ask, obviously, boxing during this time has been very unpredictable. It's on fight day, things have, are drastically different than what it was pre-pandemic. I even had one fighter tell me that he even listened to the commentary in the middle of his fight just for kind of like time cues of like when there's a minute left. Have you sort of kind of taken a chance to sort of look at some of these boxing shows with no crowd, just to sort of get a feel or a mental idea of what you might expect come Saturday?
Yeah, I've watched a few fights, but I don't think it's gonna have a negative impact on me. I feel that I'm very present at the time of the fight. I'm very focused in the moment of the fight, almost to the point where I don't even really remember my fights after they're done. I'm so present in the moment that I kind of don't even register what's happening. It's kind of odd, but no, I'm not. I don't predict it being a problem. I think if anything, it's going to help.
Obviously, since the Michael Soro fight, you've had a couple of impressive dominant decision victories heading into this fight, but going back to the Michael Soro fight, have you sort of taken something away from that fight as far as needing to work on something stylistically or something with your fundamentals as far as boxing is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel, in the fight you learn a lot, but the most you learn is really in the camp. And that wasn't one of my better camps. I mean, hey, there's no excuses. I'm not trying to make any excuse or anything like that, but it's overtraining is definitely a thing. Like, that's something that actually happens. So I didn't have really the best body or the best mindset going into that fight. So I learned a lot from that and how to prepare for, 12-rounders in those long fights. And as far as the actual fight went, it those first 2 rounds weren't going too bad. You know, to tell you the truth, I think I even won that first round. But yeah, you know, obviously tighten up the defense a little bit more and kind of just being aware of like, oh, I can actually get dropped, because that's never happened before in a fight or in sparring or anything ever. So I kind of always felt like I was a little invincible. So that kind of was like, oh, okay, it's a little piece of humble pie, which forces me to tighten up my defense a little bit more and be a little bit more conscious of the defense. So just a learning experience, but I think it's definitely helped me in the long run.
Thanks, Greg. Best of luck on Saturday.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right, and I want to go ahead and ask Greg if you have any final comments as you prepare for your world title opportunity this upcoming Saturday night, PBC, live on Fox, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time. Greg, the floor is yours.
Final comments. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, guns blazing, baby. Like, I'm excited. This is like the best I've ever felt. I know it's almost cliche to say, but it's the truth. Like, it's the best I've ever felt, best I've ever done, best camp I've ever had. And I feel like it's just, there's been so many signs in just my personal life and my boxing experience that this is the moment. It's now. Like, this is it. So I'm really excited, and I'm ready to go.
Thank you very much to Greg Vendetti for his time, as he is just days away from challenging Erislandy Lara for the Super Welterweight Championship. Now we turn our attention to the man in the co-main event who will be battling at Caleb Truax in an IBF Super Middleweight Eliminator matchup. Born in Mexicali, Mexico, who now lives in Coachella, California, trained under the guidance of Abel Sanchez out in Big Bear, California. Abel Sanchez, an outstanding trainer and has been a world-class trainer for a very long time. This man has been in numerous memorable matchups against the likes of Canelo Alvarez and Erislandy Lara, who incidentally happens to be in our main event. Also, having come off of a split decision victory in September of last year against Peter Quillen. What a war that was on FS1 from Bakersfield, California. His record, 26 wins, 7 losses, 21 of those coming by way of knockout. He actually has a translator in Martin Bader to be able to do the translating for him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the fan-friendly and the exciting Alfredo El Perro Angulo. Martin, you can ask Alfredo Angulo for opening comments.
Hola a todos, acá Alfredo, te doy la palabra. Si quieren, if you want to do questions in English, feel free to ask, and then Alfredo will reply in Spanish, and then I'll translate to English. Y si quieren hacer preguntas en español, hagan la pregunta, Alfredo responde, y después yo voy a traducir al inglés. If there are Spanish questions, don't worry, I will be translating both the question and the answer to English. So, Alfredo, please feel free to go. Así, cuando quieras, Alfredo.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for this conference, and I appreciate everybody your time.
Ontario Auto Center is.
And now we want to turn it over to the operator for questions.
All right, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please press *1 on your telephone keypad for questions. Again, that's *1 for questions. I'll just allow a few moments for the queue to build. And our first question will come from Adriana Jimenez. Adriana, your line is now open.
Hola, Perro, ¿cómo estás? Gracias por platicar con nosotros de nuevo. Quería preguntar sobre si ganas esta pelea, ¿eres mandatorio para Caleb Plant? Y sabemos que Canelo quizás va a pelear por el título del CMB, y has mencionado que te gustaría una pelea con él de nuevo. Si me puedes platicar un poquito más de eso. I asked him that if he wins, he'll become the mandatory for Caleb Plant, and there's talks about Canelo fighting for the WBC title that's now vacant, and he has mentioned interest about a rematch with them. If you can just talk a little bit about that.
Pues yo creo que será una pelea muy interesante. Primero tenemos que ahorita en mi cabeza está la pelea del sábado, primeramente Dios, y saliendo todo bien, pues ya Dios dirá. Sí, me gustaría enfrentar a Canelo, pero yo creo que ahorita es ganar el sábado, primeramente Dios, y ya, como te digo, Dios dirá que viene para nosotros. Creo que sería una pelea muy interesante, una revancha entre Canelo Álvarez y yo.
Well, what Alfredo was saying is that first things first, gotta focus on Saturday. God willing, everything is gonna be okay. First things we got every time, and gotta focus on Saturday first. Whatever comes next, including a possibility of fighting Canelo in the future, then that will be a consequence of the job I do on Saturday. But it's really about the fight this Saturday, which will be very interesting, and it will be a compelling challenge for me.
Y Perro, ya tienes unas peleas con Abel Sánchez y has mencionado que es como si Abel tiene el secreto como para rejuvenecerte. ¿Te sientes lo mejor, te sientes en la mejor condición que has estado en mucho tiempo? He's been training with Abel Sanchez for a while, and he has mentioned about Abel Sanchez having a fountain of youth kind of power over him. And I'm asking him if he feels in the best condition he's felt in a while in his career.
Yo creo que sí, que me siento muy contento. Yo le he dicho que tuve que sacar a relucir que Evo tiene la fuente de la juventud ahí en Big Bear. Me siento rejuvenecido, muy contento y feliz y con las ganas de seguir dándoles buen espectáculo a los fans.
It really is like a fountain of youth. I feel rejuvenated. I feel like the clock has turned back, and all I want to do now is give the fans a great show. That's my focus. Adri, thank you very much for making my job twice as easy. So thank you very much for translating the question. Muchas gracias.
No problem. Gracias, Perro. Thank you. Suerte.
Oh, gracias.
Also want to go ahead and let everyone know that I was told that we have Abel Sanchez on the call as well, the esteemed trainer for Alfredo El Perro Angulo. So Abel Sanchez is on the call. If you have any questions for the esteemed trainer as well, both Perro Angulo and Abel Sanchez making for a wonderful team. Once again, back to the operator for questions from the media.
Yes, perfect. So again, if you have any questions, that's *1 on your telephone keypad. I'll now turn things over to Michael Rosenthal of Boxing Junkie. Michael, your line is now open.
Hey, guys. Actually, I'd love to direct this to Abel Sanchez. Abel, are you there right now?
Yes, I am here.
Hey, how you doing?
Yes, I am. I'm doing well. How are you, Mike?
Good. Thanks. I was going to ask Alfredo, so maybe I can ask you both. He was the underdog against Quillen, I think, because he had a couple losses. He had 2 really long breaks away from boxing, and so people were thinking he's pretty much done. What do you think changed for him that allowed him to perform as well as he did against Quillen?
I think they would put him in a situation where there was no pressure on him. There was no anybody watching him up in Big Bear. He's training with a bunch of other very good fighters. His motivation changed. He really wanted to show everybody that in my gym anyway that he still had something left. It's an ego thing, I guess, up there for everybody. And his motivation changed. And once he started getting in shape, and once he started doing things that he hadn't done in a while physically, was able to do those things. I think everything clicked in that he could still do this.
Maybe we can ask the same question to Alfredo and see what he thinks.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, he was the underdog against Quillen, I think, because he had a couple losses and he had these 2 really long breaks away from boxing. So I'm just trying to explain exactly why he looked so good against Quillen. What changed for him that allowed that to happen?
Bueno, vos eras como el que venía, el que era el punto contra Quell y además venías de un par de derrotas bastante duras. Y lo que Michael quiere saber es cómo hiciste para reinventarte, para rejuvenecerte, para volver a tener esa confianza en ti mismo que luego se convirtió en la receta de tu éxito.
Yo creo que el trabajo al lado de Evo ha sido un trabajo muy bueno. El nivel que hay en el Summer Gym de todos los peleadores que estamos ahí es muy bueno, y yo creo que vamos como aprendiendo y retándonos uno a uno desde la corrida, no por mal, sino a ver quién llega primero, uno tratando de superarse a uno mismo como peleador. Y yo creo que más que nada la confianza que Evo te transmite como entrenador y como persona, yo creo que ha sido parte muy fundamental en mi cambio.
Well, Michael, first of all, the biggest key for him is that the confidence and the input that Evo gives him each and every day when they train is the biggest thing for him. If you want a key to the turnaround, that's the biggest thing. The confidence, the input, the advice that Evo is able to give Perro, and then it's also about being at the gym every day and being challenged by fighters that have that same ambition that he does, and they challenge each other, they push each other to surpass their own limits, to get to new heights. And it's not about trying to hurry or seeing who gets to a title fight first. No, it's about trying to make each other better, and the level at the gym he trains at is really outstanding. So between those two things is the real reason as to why he has been able to turn it around like he has.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot, Martin. Good to hear your voice.
Good to hear you too.
All right. Our next question will come from Jeremy Harridge at fansided.com. Jeremy, your line is now open.
Hi, Alfredo. Hi, Abel. This first question I'm actually going to direct it towards Abel. Abel, I know a lot of people were probably looking in 2016, 2018 at Alfredo and saying, okay, he might be done at this point. What did you see in him that you thought, you know what, I think I can breathe new life into him?
Well, actually, his manager, who was his wife, and Pedro went up to Big Bear after trying to contact me for about 4 or 5 months, and they weren't able to get a hold of me. They went up there to see if I would be interested in taking a look at him. I told him that I'd give him 3 to 4 weeks, which is what I usually do, thinking that at his stage and what you guys have mentioned, he didn't look too good in previous fights. I thought that maybe he'd last 3 or 4 weeks in my gym because it's difficult up there, and then he'd go away. But to Perro's credit, he made those 3 weeks a real pleasure for me, seeing somebody try as hard as he did. And once he got into shape, there was just no holding him back. Now it's competition with the rest of the guys in the gym, and little by little he understood the system that we try to implement up there. Everybody's on their own. Everybody's on an honor system up there. Everybody does for themselves what they need to do for themselves, and they push each other. It may not be by words, but it's by deeds. So as it got, now it's almost 2 years, or actually it has been 2 years. He just seems to be getting younger. It seems that instead of growing old, he's getting younger on me. He's asking for things that I try to hold him back because of his. I'm not going to say he's old, but because of his age, I just have to treat him a little bit different than I do the younger guys. But he never complains, always on time, and that's a plus for a coach.
Follow up to you, Abel. You talked about the physical end of things, and he also talked about the mental aspect of things, that you give him an extreme amount of confidence. How much of what you do working as a boxing coach, maybe in general or even specifically with Alfredo, is also one part psychologist in building a self-esteem within a fighter?
Oh, I think that that's the major part of it, not only with him, but with all the fighters. I think I try to, I don't ask him to do anything that I won't do, or I won't show him what I can't do. maybe not at the level that they do it, but once I ask them to do something and they continuously do it and get it correctly, I try to encourage and I try to make sure that they understand. I videotape everything that we do so that I can go back and show them, see, this is what you were doing before and this is what we're doing now and this is how much better it's getting. I can go back on a library 6 months, let's just say, and show them a video of how they used to do it and how they're doing it now. And when we have success, not only from him, but from everybody else in the gym, that right there is a motivating factor. That right there tells them that maybe we're doing something right. So that right there is also the mental part of it too. But I think it's very, very important to make sure that he understands that he's progressing.
Question for Alfredo. Back in January, obviously, Caleb Truax had a fight. It was a close fight by many observers. I was wondering if you saw that fight and if you had an assessment of what you saw in Caleb Truax in this previous fight.
La pregunta es fácil. ¿Viste la pelea de Truax en enero? Y si la viste, ¿qué observaciones, qué tipo de apuntes tienes sobre esa pelea y sobre Truax como boxeador?
No, la verdad no la miré. No me di cuenta de esa pelea, pero muy independientemente de verla o no verla, yo creo que Truax es un muy buen peleador. Yo creo que el sábado va a ser muy interesante la pelea entre Truax y Angulo, porque es un peleador que también le gusta ir hacia enfrente, así que yo creo que vamos a chocar esa noche de la mejor manera, regalándole un buen espectáculo a los fans.
To be honest with you, I didn't see the fight in January, but regardless of that, I know Truax is a great fighter, a great boxer, and he's aggressive. He's a guy that comes and tries to get you. So it's gonna be a great matchup between Truax and Angulo, and we're gonna be offering a great spectacle to the fans that are gonna be eager to see a good fight.
Alfredo, Abel, thank you very much and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, if we have any final comments from Alfredo Angulo as he prepares for his IBF Super Middleweight Eliminator matchup against Caleb Truax this upcoming Saturday night, PBC live on Fox, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time. Pedro, if you have any final comments.
Alfredo, si tenés algún comentario final sobre la pelea.
I say thank you so much, guys, for the interview, and I'm ready to the Saturday, and I wait till Saturday, and I'll see you the great fight Saturday night for the fans, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you very much to... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was
all
saying,
good?
I don't think you need me to translate. Yeah, all good.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much to Pedro Angulo. Now we turn our attention to the man involved in the main event of the evening. His record, 26 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He was the longest reigning super welterweight champion before losing a narrow split decision at the hands of Jarrett Hurd in 2018 fight of the year in Las Vegas. He returned last March to fight Brian Castaño, the Argentinian, to an exciting draw in a WBA title fight. He then halted Saul Alvarez to capture the title at the end of August last year. Born in Guantanamo, Cuba, and now training in Las Vegas under the guidance of Ismael Salas. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the reigning champion, Erislandy, the American Dream Lara. Erislandy. We have opening comments from Erislandy Lara. Just awaiting the champion in Erislandy Lara, who prepares for his matchup coming up on Saturday night against Greg Vendetti. It is the main event of PBC live on Fox. Don't forget, we go live at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time, preceding Fox PBC Fight Night 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific time is a full slate of FS1 PBC Fight Night matchups, all brought to you by TGB Promotions and presented by Premier Boxing Champions, as all the fighters right now are in the PBC bubble right now here in Los Angeles, making sure they are taken care of and safe and sound as they await their matchups on Saturday night. Do we have Erislandy Lara? To their matchups on Saturday night. Do we have Erislandy Lara?
Mario Serrano's line open. I believe he is on that line.
To their matchups on Saturday night. Do we have Erislandy Lara?
Mario Serrano's line?
Guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Mario. Do you have Erislandy with you?
Lara's in his obviously in the bubble. We've been trying to get a hold of him. I'm not sure if he called in at 12:15 or not, but we're trying to locate him right now. Give us a couple of minutes, and we're gonna do our best to get him to call in right now. So, bear with me.
Not a problem as we await, and we thank the media for patiently waiting for Erislandy Lara right now, as we are in the midst of a wonderful run, 3 straight weeks here in Los Angeles with PBC on Fox. Last week we saw Shawn Porter getting a victory over Sebastian Formella. And speaking of the super welterweight division, what an impressive performance by Sebastian Fundora last week to be able to stop Nate Gallimore in impressive fashion in the opening matchup live on Fox. Next week, another Cuban fighter will be in the main event, but this one in the welterweight division, as Yordenis Ugas will go head-to-head against Abel Ramos. Yordenis Ugas, top 10 welterweight in the world. Last year, Ugas suffered a split decision loss at the hands of the aforementioned Shawn Porter. Some media members felt that Ugas should have been given the victory, but then he followed it up with an impressive performance by defeating Omar Figueroa on the co-main event of Pacquiao and Thurman. And as we all know, the welterweight division is one of the most loaded in all of boxing, as is the super welterweight division. So much fun to see what the super welterweights are doing within the sport. You have the champions, as I mentioned, and, very excited about seeing the 154-pound division shake itself out. At the end of September, you have Charlo and Rosario going at it for unification, and Erislandy Lara, is going to have his sights set on that one if he's successful this Saturday against Greg Vendetti. And as we all know, you can never count out a prize fighter, despite what the odds are, especially as we are dealing with COVID-19, not the easiest to be able to train for these world-class athletes, but lo and behold, they are putting themselves in positions to fight. And Lara coming off of a layoff for about a year now. It wasn't planned that way, but due to COVID-19, it pushed plans back. So we are efforting at Erislandy Lara with a record of 26 wins, 3 losses, 3 draws, 14 wins coming by way of knockout. Lara, without a doubt, I think he has professed that he enjoys having a more crowd-pleasing style, likes to mix it up.
Okay, guys,
more.
I got Lara on the phone. Lara, you
Perfect.
there? Yes. Okay, go ahead and ask Lara any questions. He's on the phone right now. Thank you.
All right, we have Erislandy Lara. If you have opening comments, the champion, Erislandy, opening comments as you prepare for your matchup against Greg Vendetti.
Have the translator translate that question you just asked him.
Do we have a translator with Erislandy Lara?
Yeah, I'm here. Erislandy, campeón, contanos cómo te sentís para esta pelea que se viene el sábado, que seguramente se está esperando por mucho tiempo y está muy entusiasmado.
Nada, todo está bien, todo me siento bien, estamos ready for the fight.
Yeah, he says that he's feeling great and ready to roll on Saturday, so we are open to questions.
All right, now we will open it up to questions from the media. If you have any questions for Erislandy Lara, we greatly appreciate you waiting a few more moments, but operator, open it up to questions from the media.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, press *1 on your telephone keypad for questions. Again, that's *1 on your telephone keypad for questions. I'll just allow a few moments. Looks like our first question will come from Michael Rosenthal of Boxing Junkie. Michael, your line is now open.
Hello, Erislandy. Obviously, you're not an old man, but you're not a kid anymore. Can you still do the things that you used to do physically, or can you tell that there's a difference at this point?
Que sí, obviamente ya no sos el joven que solía ser, pero tampoco estás en una edad avanzada, que si podés hacer, si te sentís en la misma capacidad física que en tu plenitud.
Claro, me siento bien, gracias a Dios, me siento perfectamente a condición y me siento mejor que hace como 6 años atrás y he trabajado fuerte y estoy contento con el trabajo que hicimos en el campo.
I feel better than ever. I've been working hard and staying in great shape. I actually feel even better than I did a couple of years ago. So I couldn't be feeling better, and I'm ready to go for the fight on Saturday.
So the reason I asked that, or one of the reasons, is that he said he's more willing to sort of stand and fight, to please the crowd maybe more than he has in the past. I thought that maybe that had something to do with age, but it sounds like he's saying it really doesn't. Why is he doing that?
Sorry, he was more willing to what? Sorry, you cut off there for a second.
More willing to engage his opponents, willing to stand and exchange punches to please the fans. I sort of assumed that had something to do with his age. Maybe he couldn't move quite as well as he had in the past. Maybe you can ask if that has anything to do with it or whether he just wants to please the fans.
Sobre lo que declaraste hace un tiempo de que vos estás dispuesto a como intercambiar más golpes, como dilatar un poco la pelea para complacer a los fans. ¿Eso tiene que ver con un nuevo estilo de pelea tuyo, con una filosofía que tengas, o simplemente es que tenés ganas de complacer a los aficionados que pagaron por verte?
Eso no tiene que ver con ningún plan de pelea, eso tiene que ver solamente con cómo se encuentra la situación de la pelea, ¿no? La situación de la pelea en el cuadrilátero. Y no es para que darle una mejor pelea a los fans, es para hacer lo mejor que yo, como yo me sienta y como yo me siento en el ring.
It's really, and it's not about any fighting style or anything in particular. It's not even about pleasing the fans per se. It's about doing what is needed inside the ring and what the fight requires me to do. And if it pleases the fans, that's awesome. But I'll always remain focused on what the fight requires me to do in each situation.
Okay, last thing for me. Obviously, Erislandy is one of the greatest Cuban fighters of all time in terms of his success as a professional. Is that something that he thinks about? And to him, who's the greatest Cuban professional of all time?
You're asking in terms of his legacy, right?
Right.
So, en términos de tu legado, Erislandy, se te considera uno de los mejores boxeadores cubanos de la historia. Entonces, la pregunta es, si a esta altura de tu carrera ya estás pensando en tu legado, en cómo estás en la historia del boxeo cubano, y además Michael quiere saber si a quién consideras el mejor boxeador cubano de la historia.
No, en mi legado, a mi edad todavía no me siento entre los mejores boxeadores cubanos, todavía me faltan por hacer muchas cosas, ¿no? Y entre los mejores cubanos de la historia te puedo considerar que yo conozca, que yo haya visto con mis ojos a Joel Casamayor, que ha sido uno de los boxeadores cubanos que han llegado a este país, ha hecho muchas cosas en este deporte.
Dijiste Casamayor, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Nada más quiero asegurarme que... Muy bien. Bueno, well, first of all, as far as your first part of the question about how his legacy will be shaped, he's really not thinking about his legacy right now because he still feels like he has a lot to accomplish. So it's not like it crosses his mind every once in a while, but it's not something that he focuses on because there is a lot to accomplish still, and he wants to bolster his standing as one of the best Cuban fighters that there is. And as far as his favorite Cuban, well, not his favorite, the best Cuban fighter of all time, according to him, is Casamayor.
Fantastic. Great. Best of luck on Saturday.
Mucha suerte el sábado y gracias.
Gracias.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have another question, please press star one on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star one on your telephone keypad. And it looks like our next question will come from Jeremy Hare at JustFansided.com. Jeremy, your line is now open.
Hi, Erislandy. You were just talking about how you still feel like you have a lot of goals and a lot of things that you want to accomplish. Obviously, boxing is a very brutal sport, and you've taken on the test of time. How much longer do you foresee yourself boxing, ideally?
Bueno, campeón, habías dicho que vos tenés muchas cosas que todavía querés conseguir, pero a la misma vez el boxeo es un deporte brutal. Entonces lo que Jeremy quiere saber es si tenés un plazo en mente de por cuántos años más te gustaría permanecer como boxeador.
Bueno, bueno, mientras yo me sienta bien en el boxeo y siga ganando y siga teniendo triunfo y todo me siga yendo bien, sí, pienso que puedo seguir boxeando. Cuando yo vea que ya las cosas no son como antes, que estoy pasando mucho trabajo para ganar a la gente y para ganar a los muchachos jóvenes que vienen, ya ahí sí tomaré una decisión en irme el día de mañana, ¿no?
It's really about how I feel, and I feel that I can still do a lot of winning, that I can have a lot of success, and I haven't set any time frames for myself. Now, whenever it is that I start feeling like it's not the same, that training is a drag, or that some up and coming youngster got the best of me, then that will be the time to consider it. But right now, it's not on my mind.
With your current opponent, Greg Vendetti, I was curious, before the matchup, did you know much about him? Did you kind of go on fact-finding missions to find out more about him? And what's your opinion of him as a boxer?
Sobre tu oponente de este sábado, Vendetti, ¿lo estudiaste ya? ¿Hiciste algún tipo de misión exploradora sobre lo que quieres saber sobre él o nada?
No, eso lo voy a saber el mismo sábado. Como estoy cansado de decirle a los medios de prensa, no me gusta ver videos de los boxeadores cuando que van a pelear conmigo, solamente los estudio del primer round en el ring y ahí veré lo que tengo que hacer.
I really haven't seen Vendetti at all. Really, as I tell people, I really don't like to see to see or study video of my future opponent. To me, the studying comes starting in the first round once we start exchanging punches in the ring.
Last question on my end. As far as the current reigning other champions out there, not looking past this opponent, but do you feel like, based on who's out there right now, that you could beat any one of them on any given day? Do you feel like all those titles are up for grab and that you have a legit shot at taking any of them or all of them? Would you like to be undisputed again?
Bueno, sin saltear la pelea de este sábado, o sea, sin subestimarla, y considerando a todos los otros campeones defensores que hay en tu categoría, ¿sentís que sos superior a todos los otros campeones de este momento y que puedes volver a ser el campeón unificado sin disputa de tu peso?
Claro que sí puedo ser el nuevo campeón en disputa de mi peso sin ningún tipo de problema. Hay buenos boxeadores en la división, ¿no? Pero bueno, los boxeadores que están ahora mismo en la división, ninguno han peleado conmigo todavía, ¿entiendes? Entonces cuando peleen conmigo, ahí veremos qué pasa, ¿no?
Of course, absolutely. I firmly believe that I can be an undisputed champion once again. However, most of the other champions that you mentioned, who are great boxers in their own right, they haven't fought against me yet. So it remains to be seen how that could pan out. But I definitely feel that I could come out on top against anybody, anytime in a division that is really competitive.
Erislandy, thank you very much, and best of luck come Saturday.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias y suerte el sábado.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, please press star one on your telephone keypad. Again, that's star one for questions. Our next question will come from Carlos Toro of Fight Game Media. Carlos, your line is now open.
Hi, Erislandy. Thanks so much for taking time to talk to us. You know, coming from your last fight, you scored the knockout win against Ramon Alvarez, and it was your first knockout win by that point in 2.5 years. Did that win kind of give you a little more confidence heading into the next fight after the wars that you had with Brian Castaño and Jared Hurd?
Que tu knockout a Ramón Álvarez fue tu primer knockout en casi 2 años y medio, y que si eso te devolvió algo de la confianza que quizás habías perdido por tus peleas con Castaño y con Jared Hurd.
No, el knockout se dio solo. Yo no tuve ningún problema con Castaño, ni no he perdido ninguna confianza ni con Castaño ni con Jared Hurd. ¿Entiendes? Eso fue una pelea muy importante que se dio y fue así. El knockout se dio solo.
Well, I never lost any confidence, if that's what you're thinking. To me, it's really about staying up top with my confidence, and I never wavered, regardless of what the circumstances may have been before or after that fight with Alvarez.
You know, I don't want to, ask him to sort of look past Greg Vendetti, but obviously the 154-pound division is still very, very loaded, and obviously you got Jermell Charlo and Jason Rosario fighting in a unification, and there's still plenty of big names out there, 154 pounds, including Jared Hurd. Is a rematch against Hurd something that he'd be interested in if he doesn't get a title fight if he wins on Saturday?
Bueno, de vuelta, sin subestimar ni saltear a la pelea que tienes este sábado contra Vendetti, él dice que esta división de 154 libras es, como vos dijiste, muy competitiva, con Charlo, con Rosario y también con Hurd. Si tú considerarías una revancha con Hurd después de este sábado.
Ya mi equipo le habló a Hurd, ya mi equipo le escribió a Hurd y Hurd dijo no. Ya mi gente de Cuba Junior y mi gente le preguntaron y ellos dijeron que no. ¿Ok? Yo, aparte de eso, yo estoy abierto a pelear con cualquiera de la división. Yo nunca he dicho que no. Si ustedes pueden ver mi historial, mi récord, que yo he peleado con los mejores boxeadores de la división a 154 libras.
My people actually have talked to Hurd already. They reached out to him for a rematch, to him and his people for a rematch, and he said no. I am willing and able to fight anywhere, anytime against anyone in the division, but my people, they reached out to Hurd's camp. They said no, but I'm open to a rematch against him anytime that may be possible.
Thanks, Erislandy, and best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
All right,
Ray.
It's time you want to go ahead and welcome in and go ahead and give final comments to Erislandy Lara as he prepares for his matchup coming up against Greg Vendetti, where he will defend his super welterweight championship. PBC live on Fox this Saturday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time, presented by Premier Boxing Champions and promoted by TGB Promotions. Erislandy, final comments.
Erislandy, comentarios finales, algo que quieras que la gente sepa, mensaje a los fans, lo que vos quieras.
No, quiero mandarle un saludo a todos los fans, a toda la gente fanática del boxeo, que gracias por el apoyo y gracias por tenerme aquí pendiente en el canal. Nada, solamente le diré que me estoy en tremenda condición y tengo tremenda forma física y para dar lo mejor de mí el día del sábado 29 de agosto.
First of all, I want to thank the fans all over the world that are going to tune into the fight, and I want everyone to know that I am in great shape and feeling outstanding, ready to put on a show on Saturday.
All right, thank you very much to Erislandy Lara. Thank you very much to Martin for the translation. Thank you to all the fighters in our main event, Erislandy Lara, Greg Vendetti, Caleb Truax, and Alfredo Angulo. Don't miss Saturday night's event, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time, PBC, live on Fox from the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles. No fans in attendance due to COVID-19, but we surge on nonetheless for the fight fans watching around the world. Have a great one. Stay safe, and we look forward to speaking with you on Saturday as we prepare for a big night of Premier Boxing Champions action. Have a great one, everybody. Stay safe.
Ladies and gentlemen,